So a couple things as we get started back that I want to talk about in terms of writing with older students. Older kids really need a lot of focus on their writing because, as you know, as you get older, we go very much into an emphasis on being able to communicate what you've learned through writing. Students are expected to plan and execute longer pieces of writing where they're doing higher order thinking and analysis and synthesis and being able to incorporate more complex ideas into the things that they write. And so it's real important that they have some strategies that they can use to be able to produce more elaborate and more complex writing. They need to think about how to combine sentences to, add more complexity. They need to be given opportunities to work together to cooperatively produce products that facilitate and improve the quality of their compositions. They need to, you need to include students in establishing goals for their own writing and really becoming very critically reflective of their own writing processes and being able to assume some of that responsibility. Definitely opportunities to engage with word processing and to learn to use the tools that are available in a word processor, to use the thesaurus. I use that all the time in my own writing because I find, I just used the word inform 3 times. I want to vary that up, right? Or to use the spelling and grammar checker to recognize, which sometimes, to be frank, I wish some of you would do, that when it is underlined in green, that usually means there's something wrong. If it's underlined in red, that's a spelling error, that sort of thing. We also have to work with kids on knowing that sometimes those tools are not enough. And we may still need to do some more work because spell checker doesn't always give us what we need. Sometimes we think, spell checker is the magic bullet, and it's not. I have a colleague and friend that I wrote with for many years named Millicent Kushner. If I type her, and I think y'all have heard me talk about Millie in class, and you've definitely heard me talk about her husband. She's a Jewish woman married to a Muslim man. Anyway, Millicent Kushner, when you type it into a spell checker, comes up as militant kosher, which we used to laugh a lot about, but clearly that's not the intent. So we also have to teach kids that spell checker doesn't always send you in the right direction. We have to really work with kids on organizing their writing. And I don't know how many of you, when you were moving into middle school or high school and you had to start developing outlines and you found that just an agonizing process, but we do need to help children learn how to develop those skills for structuring their work. And for some kids, they can do a semantic map, and there is actually technology that will do this for you that will turn that into an outline, but helping them think about, okay, how do you move from sort of broader ideas into a more structured way of thinking about planning their writing. And then how to use inquiry activities and analyze data they need to write reports. So how do you go out and read widely and gather a lot of information and then be able to come back and put that together into a writing process. And so, again, it takes some time, it takes some structure, and I think if we build in all of those things that we do to teach kids creative writing, then we can use that as they move in to more expository sorts of writing. We have to, again, the gift of time. And remember that for children who are having difficulty, they need even more time, but they need more productive time. They don't need more frustrating time. We need to provide students with good models of writing to study and to compare with their own writing. And one of the things we know is that writers read a lot. And they borrow from what they read and put it into what they write. That's what we ask all of you all to do when you write for your classes, is we ask you to take lots of information that you've been reading about and think about how you can apply that to your own work. And also, students need to be taught how writing can be really a tool to help them enhance their understanding of the content. And I bet many of you, despite the fact that you might not always like the writing assignments you do, would say that having done that writing actually helps you to understand and work through those concepts at a deeper level. So now I want to talk a little bit about self-regulated strategy development. And self-regulated strategy development, developed by Stephen Graham and Karen Harris, who are sort of the gurus in terms of writing strategy instruction for kids with disabilities, okay? And I have adapted some of their ideas and put them into this PowerPoint. And they talk about struggling writers, and they talk about their questions and your answers. So we'll go through some of those, and then I'm going to go show you some of their ideas for helping kids to be able to develop some approaches to be able to work with a writing assignment. So they'll say, well, the questions at first are, what do you want me to write about? I don't know what to write, and how long does it have to be? What if I can't do a whole page? And many of you know my pet peeve is I don't ever want to be asked how long it has to be, because that's not an easily answered question. So some people can say a tremendous amount in 2 pages. Other people can go on for 10 and not really say very much. So, but for children for whom writing has been a painful process, it's like, just tell me how long it has to be, and I'll give it to you, and then we can say we've been done. And so here are some of the things that they propose that you answer to kids. Brainstorm, do some planning, write enough to develop your topic, provide enough support. But oftentimes that's not, those answers may be helpful, but we need to even make them more concrete. And I'll show you some ways to do that. And so we know that lots of times struggling writers just begin to write with no planning. They lift the pen and they continue to write until they think they have enough, right? Whatever that may mean. In terms of generating content, they don't really know how to access what they know to get it into writing. And they don't have as much difficulty when they can say it rather than write it. So again, now, luckily, we almost all have recorders on these phones we carry around all the time. Kids can dictate into their phones and then go back, and many times, again, that's a way of helping kids find their voice. In terms of making revisions, we know that less than 20% of the revisions made by struggling writers actually change the text. And it's more about finding a word or making it neater, but it's rarely about improving the organization, making the communication more clear. These abstract terms that are part of the writing process are often really hard for students who struggle to understand, and they're going to need, again, something much more concrete. And so we'll talk about some ideas in terms of self-regulated strategy development that provides, some tools that students can use for some sort of concrete ways of figuring out what has to happen in their mind in order to produce quality writing. So the goals of the self-regulated strategy development is to assist students in developing knowledge about writing and skills that can help them work through all those stages in the writing process, to support their development of the ability needed to monitor and manage their own writing, which is always our goal, is for students to take that responsibility on themselves, and hopefully to help them feel more positively about the things that they write. There's been a lot of research behind these strategies. We know they can be effective one-on-one, in small group, in inclusion settings, and there's research to support that all of those ways of providing this instruction work. And again, the focus is on it's a concrete tool to help me plan and reflect on my writing, and then that there's repetition of purposeful and deliberate behavior. I don't teach a kid a strategy one day and then say, okay, that's yours, now we'll move on to the next, right? So let's talk about the steps of the process. First, we develop some background knowledge. We teach, teachers and students then discuss the strategy and sort of what can it do for you, when would you use it, why would you use it. Teachers model the strategy more than once. And so again, this type of strategy instruction is not a one-shot deal. That students memorize the strategy, and almost all of these strategies have a mnemonic device that kids can remember, and that way then when they go into, their biology classroom, they have a little mnemonic that they can use to help them structure some of their writing. And then teachers give feedback and more practice and more instruction to help kids begin to use that strategy on their own, which again, always our goal, okay? What does the teacher do? Well, the teacher models being enthusiastic. They involve students collaboratively in finding the strategy that works best for them. They provide lots of opportunities to use it, and they praise and reinforce students' efforts. So many of you probably have heard of the tree model. Some of you may be using it in your classroom. This is a powerful tool both for writing narrative and expository text, particularly expository text, and there's a tremendous amount of research behind the tree model. So there are 3 steps in TREE. The first is, who will read my paper? Why am I writing this paper? Again, we're going to Engage some of that background knowledge. So who's going to read it? Why am I writing it? What's its purpose? That sort of thing. Then I can plan what to say using tree, and I'm getting ready to show you that. And then I write and say more. So 3 steps in tree, okay? Notice that tree model is you first note your topic sentence. What is the main thing this is going to be about? And then what are some reasons that support my topic? And will my reader buy those reasons? And then we're going to write an ending. So tree, T-R-E-E, topic sentence, reasons, examine each reason, write an ending, okay? Now, please don't laugh. I'm going to show you a tree that I drew. Obviously, not only am I not a videographer, but I'm certainly not an artist. But hopefully it'll at least give you an opportunity to kind of look and see what you think. So here's my tree. So notice I can write my topic sentence on the trunk. And again, this gives the child a visual support. Okay, the foundation of my paper is this topic sentence. This is going to tell folks, what am I writing about? And then I can come up with on these major limbs, and I've got 3 reasons or 3 ideas that support that topic sentence. And think of how often what students are supposed to do is write an introductory paragraph, write 3 paragraphs that elaborate on that, and then write an ending. So this framework actually gives kids some support for that. But then I can also write on these leaves out here, you know, some of the details or elaborations that I can include with my reason. And in a longer passage, some of those can also become additional paragraphs. So I hope that makes sense. And there's some more about this strategy in your textbook. So now I want you to try tree. So I want you to choose a topic. So I want you to choose either why I like doing homework for SPED 5386 or why I hate doing homework for SPED 5386. And I want you to go back and look at that tree model. You can just draft a little line. You can do it with stick figures yourself on your paper and spend a little bit of time and give it a try. I'm going to pause this video and start another section because this has probably gone on long enough that I can't keep going farther. I won't be able to upload it.